Hey everyone, welcome back to Retirement Clarity. I am Lenny, and if you are joining us for the first time today, I want you to know that this channel exists for one reason and one reason only, to give you the honest, straight-talking, no-nonsense financial information that actually matters to people like us who are 60 and older and thinking seriously about making sure the money we worked our entire lives to build actually lasts as long as we need it to. And today I want to talk about something that I know makes a lot of people uncomfortable, because it involves a number, and that number is 75. Because the research is clear and the data is consistent and the pattern shows up again and again across millions of American households, a significant number of Americans run out of meaningful retirement savings by the time they reach age 75. Not all of them, not even most of them, but enough of them that this is a genuine, widespread, serious problem that deserves an honest conversation. And today, that is exactly what we are going to have. Because I do not believe in sugarcoating things on this channel, and I do not believe in scaring you either. I believe in giving you the real picture and then giving you the real tools to make sure you are not part of that statistic. So stay with me, because today's video could genuinely be one of the most important financial conversations you have this year. Before we go anywhere, my standard reminder that I mean every single time, nothing in this video is personal financial advice. I am not a licensed financial advisor. I research deeply, I care about this community, and I share what I find. Please always consult a qualified financial advisor before making significant changes to your financial plan. Your situation is unique and deserves personalized guidance. Now let us talk about why this is happening and what you can do about it. Let me start with the why, because understanding the root causes of retirement money running out is the only way to actually prevent it from happening to you. And when I looked at this research carefully, what I found is that there is not one single cause. There are 5 distinct patterns that show up consistently in the financial histories of Americans who find themselves in serious financial difficulty by their mid-70s. And what is striking about these 5 patterns is that almost none of them involve dramatic disasters or catastrophic events. Almost all of them involve quiet, gradual, invisible erosion that built up over years without anyone noticing until it was too late. That is the most important thing I want you to take away from the first part of today's video. The threat to your retirement security in most cases is not a sudden crisis. It is a slow leak. And slow leaks are dangerous precisely because they do not feel urgent until the damage is already done. The first pattern, and this is the one that affects more American seniors than any other single factor, is underestimating how long retirement actually lasts. When today's retirement planning models were originally built, the average life expectancy for Americans was significantly lower than it is today. People retired at 65, and the planning assumption was that retirement might last 10 to 15 years. But today, a 65-year-old American has a very real statistical probability of living into their late 80s or even their 90s. A married couple, both aged 65, has a better than 50% chance that at least one of them will live past 90. And yet most people plan their retirement finances based on assumptions that were built for a much shorter retirement. They calculate how much they need to save based on living to 80 or 82. They set up withdrawal rates that work perfectly fine if retirement lasts 15 years, but that quietly, steadily deplete the portfolio if retirement lasts 25 or 30 years. By the time they reach 75 and realize that the math is not working, that the withdrawals are outpacing the growth, that the account balances are declining faster than projected, they have already lost years of the time when adjustments would have been easiest to make. The solution to this pattern is not complicated, but it requires an honest and sometimes uncomfortable conversation with yourself and your financial advisor about longevity. Plan for a longer retirement than you think you will have. If you plan for 30 years of retirement and you only live 20, you leave money to your family. If you plan for 20 years and you live 30, you run out of money at 85 with a decade of life still ahead of you. The asymmetry of those two outcomes should make the choice clear. The second pattern is what I call the inflation blind spot. And it is one of the most insidious financial forces that works against seniors because it is completely invisible in the day-to-day experience of life. Inflation means that the purchasing power of a fixed dollar amount decreases over time. A dollar today buys less than a dollar bought 5 years ago, and a dollar today will buy less than a dollar will buy 5 years from now. For someone in retirement living on a relatively fixed income, Social Security with modest cost of living adjustments, a pension that may not be fully indexed to inflation, savings generating modest returns, the cumulative impact of inflation over a 20 or 25-year retirement is genuinely devastating. Consider this: at a modest 3% annual inflation rate, prices double approximately every 24 years. The senior who retired at 65 with a budget that felt comfortable finds that same budget buys them roughly half as much by the time they are 89. Healthcare inflation, which affects seniors more directly and more severely than almost any other demographic, often runs significantly higher than general inflation. Prescription drug costs, insurance premiums, medical procedures, these costs have been rising at rates that dramatically exceed the cost of living adjustments in Social Security. The senior who felt financially secure at 65 based on their budget at that time and who did not build inflation protection into their financial plan often arrives at 75 feeling the squeeze of a budget that has been silently, gradually eroded by a decade of rising costs. The solution is to build inflation protection explicitly into your financial plan through assets that grow over time and outpace inflation, through careful management of Social Security claiming strategy to maximize your inflation-adjusted benefit, and through regular reviews of your budget and your portfolio with your financial advisor to make sure your plan is keeping pace with the real cost of your real life. The third pattern is healthcare cost shock. And this one I want to spend real time on because it is genuinely one of the most dramatic and most underestimated financial forces in retirement. Most Americans dramatically underestimate what healthcare will cost them in retirement. Studies consistently show that the average American couple retiring today will spend somewhere between $300,000 and $350,000 on healthcare costs over the course of their retirement, and that estimate does not include long-term care. It includes Medicare premiums, supplemental insurance, prescription drugs, dental care which Medicare does not cover, vision care which Medicare largely does not cover, hearing aids which are extraordinarily expensive and largely not covered, and out-of-pocket costs for procedures and treatments. For many seniors, healthcare costs consume an increasing and eventually dominant share of their monthly budget as they move through their 70s and 80s. And for those who need long-term care, whether in-home assistance, assisted living, or nursing home care, the costs are staggering. The average annual cost of a private room in a nursing home in the United States is now well over $100,000 per year. The average stay in a nursing home is approximately 2.5 years, meaning the average nursing home cost for one person can exceed $250,000. A couple where both partners need significant long-term care can face costs that would deplete even a substantial retirement portfolio. The seniors who run into the most serious financial difficulty from healthcare costs are almost always the ones who did not plan specifically for it, who assumed Medicare would cover what they needed, who did not investigate long-term care insurance when they were young enough and healthy enough to get it at reasonable premiums, and who had no specific reserves set aside for the healthcare costs that are nearly inevitable at some point in a long retirement. The conversation about healthcare costs in retirement is one of the most important financial conversations you can have, and it is one that needs to happen well before the costs arrive. The fourth pattern is what financial planners call sequence of returns risk. And while this sounds technical, the concept is actually straightforward and critically important. Sequence of returns risk means that the order in which investment returns occur during your retirement matters enormously for how long your money lasts. Specifically, experiencing significant market losses in the early years of retirement when you are withdrawing money from your portfolio to live on is far more damaging than experiencing the same losses later in retirement. Here is why. If your portfolio drops 30% in year 2 of retirement and you are withdrawing money every month, you are selling assets at depressed prices to fund your living expenses. When the market recovers, you have fewer assets to participate in that recovery. The math of selling into a down market while simultaneously drawing down the portfolio creates a compounding negative effect that can permanently impair a retirement portfolio in ways that are very difficult to recover from. The seniors who retired in 2000, right before the dot-com crash, or in 2007, right before the financial crisis, experienced exactly this dynamic. And many of them found their financial situation dramatically worse at 75 than their projections at 65 had suggested it would be. The solution to sequence of returns risk is not to avoid the stock market. Avoiding the market creates its own serious problems around inflation and growth. The solution is to maintain a cash buffer, typically 1 to 2 years of living expenses in stable, accessible form, so that when markets decline, you can draw from that buffer rather than selling investments at depressed prices, giving your portfolio time to recover before you need to liquidate more assets. The fifth pattern, and this one is perhaps the most emotionally difficult to discuss but also one of the most common, is what I call lifestyle drift. Lifestyle drift is the gradual, incremental increase in spending that happens over the early years of retirement in ways that feel completely natural and justified in the moment, but that add up to a significant and ultimately unsustainable increase in the withdrawal rate from retirement savings. It starts innocuously. You travel a bit more in the early years of retirement because you finally have the time and the health to enjoy it. Your children need help with a down payment on a house, and you want to help because you can. Your grandchildren's education fund needs a contribution, and being able to give that feels wonderful. Home repairs that you deferred during working years get done now. A new car. A renovation. Each individual decision feels reasonable, feels joyful, feels like exactly what you worked your whole life to be able to do. But the cumulative effect of lifestyle drift over the first 5 to 8 years of retirement can be a withdrawal rate that is 30 or 40% higher than the sustainable rate that your original financial plan was built around. And by the time that damage becomes visible in declining account balances, significant adjustments are needed that would have been much gentler if addressed earlier. The solution is regular, ideally annual, financial reviews that look specifically at actual spending versus planned spending, that catch lifestyle drift early, and that make gentle course corrections before small drifts become major problems. Now let me talk about the specific strategies that protect against all 5 of these patterns, because knowing the problem is only half of what I want to give you today. The first strategy is to delay Social Security as long as you possibly can if your health permits. Every year you delay claiming Social Security beyond your full retirement age increases your benefit by approximately 8%, a guaranteed, inflation-adjusted, lifelong return that no investment in the market can match with certainty. Delaying from 62 to 70 can more than double your monthly Social Security benefit. For a married couple, the strategy of having the higher earner delay to 70 while the lower earner claims earlier can dramatically increase the household's lifetime Social Security income and provide significantly better protection against the risk of one partner outliving the other. The second strategy is to build and maintain what I call a retirement income floor, a baseline of guaranteed, predictable income from Social Security, pensions, or annuities that covers your essential monthly expenses regardless of what the market does. When your essential expenses are covered by guaranteed income, your investment portfolio becomes a source of growth and opportunity rather than a survival mechanism. And that changes both the mathematics and the psychology of retirement in profoundly positive ways. The third strategy is to maintain genuine investment diversification that includes assets capable of outpacing inflation over long periods. A retirement that could last 25 or 30 years cannot afford to be entirely in fixed income. Equities, real assets, and other growth-oriented investments need to remain part of the picture throughout retirement, managed thoughtfully in terms of allocation and sequence risk, but present and working on your behalf. The fourth strategy, and this one ties directly into conversations we have been having on this channel recently, is to consider whether a small allocation to genuinely high-growth potential assets makes sense in your specific situation. I have talked on this channel about XRP and digital assets not because they are appropriate for everyone, but because the question of finding asymmetric upside in a retirement portfolio, small risk, meaningful potential reward, is a genuinely important one for seniors facing the combination of inflation pressure, low bond yields, and multi-decade retirement timelines. A 2 or 3% allocation to a regulated high-potential asset does not solve the fundamental problems I have described today, but it adds a dimension to a retirement portfolio that thoughtful, informed seniors are increasingly considering as part of a complete financial picture. Talk to your advisor about whether it belongs in yours. The fifth strategy is to have an explicit, written, reviewed plan for healthcare costs and long-term care. Not a vague hope that Medicare will cover what you need, but a specific plan that accounts for the real costs of healthcare in retirement, that has addressed the question of long-term care insurance or self-insurance explicitly, and that has a reserve or a strategy for the healthcare expenses that are almost inevitable over a long retirement. I want to close today with something that I say in different ways in different videos, but that I believe with complete conviction. The seniors who run out of money by 75 almost never saw it coming. They made decisions that felt reasonable at the time. They lived their lives. They enjoyed their retirements in the early years. They simply did not have a plan that was honest enough about longevity, honest enough about inflation, honest enough about healthcare costs, and disciplined enough about spending to sustain them through a retirement that lasted longer than they expected. The good news, and I mean this sincerely, is that every single one of the 5 patterns I described today is preventable. Not with dramatic sacrifices, not with complicated financial maneuvers, but with honest conversations, with realistic planning, with regular reviews, and with the willingness to make small adjustments early rather than large adjustments late. That is the work. It is not glamorous work, but it is the most important financial work you can do right now. Whatever age you are, whatever your savings look like, whatever your situation is, start the conversation today. I am Lenny. Thank you for being here with me today on Retirement Clarity. If this video gave you something important to think about, please hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you never miss a new video. Share this with someone you love who is in or approaching retirement and who needs to hear this conversation. And drop your questions and your thoughts in the comments below. What is the financial challenge you are most worried about as you look at the years ahead? Tell me, and I will do my best to bring you clarity. Take good care of yourselves. I will see you in the very next one.